Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Conservative Corner. I'm Elliott Margolis. I'm here with my co-host, Gail Burke, and we've got an interesting, at least I think it's an interesting topic to discuss today. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. I'm not sure I like the word assassination, but he was murdered, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
And after the assassination, what happened? Let's see. It seemed like the Republicans got together and said, boy, Charlie did such a great job. We need to have more turning point organizations around. So they've increased the number of organizations in high schools and in colleges, and more people are studying what Charlie Kirk had to say. And oh, by the way, we do have free speech in this country, so he does have the right to say something. But you notice that everybody got together, and what did they fight for? They fought for turning point. There's a little difference in what happens when the Democrats lose somebody, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
When the Democrats lose somebody, and let's just take George Floyd as an example. Let's see, we had riots, destruction, people getting hurt,
people getting killed. Like policemen.
We had a lot of chaos. And this was for a guy who had a record, not a good record, by the way.
Right.
He was a drug addict. He was a thief. He was not what I would consider a wife beater, but he was not considered what I would say a good person like Charlie Kirk. So why is it that the Republicans will, or the conservatives, let's say,
Yep.
take the approach, we've got to do better, and we're going to take that philosophy and move it forward, as opposed to, boy, we're a little bit mad here, so we're going to destroy some property. And by the way, it doesn't matter if we destroy any property, because we're not going to get put in jail and we're not going to have to serve any time.
That's what happens. Charlie was a young man, 31 years old, with a young family. He was murdered, assassinated, at a time when he was trying and succeeding at turning the young people in high schools and colleges into believing in faith. He's a very faithful man, believed in Christ and Christianity. What he was a master at, even though he had no college education, he was a master at speaking and drawing out people who opposed him and conversing with them. Now, the left is always talking about we have to have a conversation. But what they really don't want is a conversation, because the minute you start to disagree with them, they cut you right off, or they change the subject. I've had a lot of experience with this, believe me.
I have too. As a matter of fact, what they say is, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean...
Oh, we don't want to talk politics here.
Yeah.
Well,
they bring up the subject, but
yeah.
then when you go back and say, well, how about this?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because they can't.
Well, and also, I think the left hated Charlie because he was so successful. And he was also very successful in helping Donald Trump win his second term. He would go into the 7 swing states, and his organization, Turning Point USA, was instrumental in getting young people out to vote. And the left will not stand for anything like that. It's the problem with going to speak at college campuses is many times the colleges or universities will provide little or no security. So you have to bring your own security. And this has been happening to conservatives for many years. I remember years ago that it started when some of the students would throw pies in the faces of some of the conservatives that were there to speak. And it just escalated from there to violence. And we know that there is a lot of violence on college campuses. Look at what the Jewish kids have to put up with. You know, the violence is there. They have to run and hide. And because most of these colleges and universities are filled with left-wing professors and administrators that turn a blind eye to what's really going on. And Charlie brought that out. You know, it's unfortunate that this terrible thing happened, but look at the reaction, as Elliott said. Look at the difference in reaction when George Floyd was killed, and what happened with Charlie. The left has just gone loony. You know, on the TV, you see politicians coming forward and denigrating him and his work and what he did. You see the commentators on CNN, MSNBC, and the whole left-wing media, including the press, finding ways, just a day or two after his death, they were finding ways to point the finger at the fact that he was not a good person.
But you notice one, I think, very important thing, okay? Republicans talk about issues.
Yeah.
Okay, and what can we do to bring inflation down? What can we do to strengthen our military? What can we do for the people of the country? The Democrats only talk about, I hate Trump. Whatever Trump does, we have to find a way to eliminate him, and of course they've tried twice.
Yep.
But it's like, the Republicans are looking at issues. The Democrats have not discussed any issues whatsoever. Now, this government shutdown. Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's stupid for a number of reasons, but all the government workers are going to get paid back pay when the government starts again. So they're not losing anything.
But one of the good things this may point out is how many government jobs are not really needed. This may point the finger at those particular
This could be the best thing Doge ever saw.
That's right. And Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries walked right into that one like they've been walking into everything, blindsided because of their own stupidity. You know, they're afraid to go against anything that people like AOC, who appears to now almost be the head of the Democrat Party.
Well, she is going to run
against Schumer. Yes, and he's running scared.
Frankly, I'm not sure which is worse.
I
mean, they're pretty equal in terms of that.
Of their policies, yeah.
I mean, look at issues. The key thing is issues. It's not the person. It's what are they going to do for you, okay? And when I say what are they going to do for you, I mean you. I don't mean the illegals.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things on this government shutdown.
That's right.
Is Schumer wants to make sure illegals get plenty of health care.
At whose expense?
Now, yeah, and yet part of this whole budget process is to take money away from the illegals and give it to the homeless veterans, United States veterans, people that have fought for this country that are homeless. We need to give them more money, a place to live.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a matter of priorities. And it seems like the conservative priority is American citizens. And it seems the liberal priority is the entire world except for the American citizens.
Well, it's interesting. I was watching Fox this morning, and they were showing past videos of people like AOC, Bill Clinton, even Hillary Clinton. the other night, and they were talking about the border and how the border needs to be closed. This was a few years ago.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, Chuckles Schumer, when Obama was president, said there was no excuse to have a government shutdown. That's the worst thing you can do is have a
Right.
government shutdown. Now he's leading a government shutdown because illegals aren't getting enough money. Give me a break. I mean, either it's good or it's bad. It's not a question of who's president if something is good or bad.
And it wasn't always like that. I mean, years ago, I mean, they did it with Reagan, too.
Well, but Reagan got along with Tip O'Neill.
Tip O'Neill.
And good things happened in this country. Clinton got along with Newt Gingrich.
Yes.
Good things happened in this country. And there you have a Democrat and Republican and a Republican and a Democrat working together
Yeah.
for something like the United States.
For the people
But
they
they're
represent.
not doing that now.
No. No, they don't, because the Trump derangement syndrome is prevalent in everything they say or do.
And the one thing the Democrats have been good at is making sure that there's no vaccine for Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, you know, they've stopped having,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I think one of the problems, the biggest problems we have, and you and I have done shows for years about what's happening in the schools and what the children are being taught. And they're being taught that they live in a racist society. Systemic racism is prevalent. That is a lie. That just is not true. Children are taught the Democrat line. They're indoctrinated with it. So by the time they get to college, they haven't learned to read and write properly, but they know the dogma of the Democrat Party.
Well, that's the thing that bothers me, and there are some teachers that have been eliminated. When I say eliminated, fired, not killed.
Be careful.
Because teachers are supposed to teach kids how to think, not what to think, but how to think.
Yeah.
They're not doing that. They're telling them what to think. That's a bad thing. We need to get back to the basics. You know, ever since, and I've said this before on the show, ever since we had the Department of Education, the quality of our education has gone down.
Yeah.
Well, the Department of Education was from Jimmy Carter, okay, a
Yes.
Democrat.
Yes.
Now, Trump is eliminating the Department of Education. I guarantee you that you're going to see in the next couple of years the United States education's going up. We're going to, instead of being in the top 10 like we were,
Yeah.
and now
We're
we're
down
in
towards
like
the bottom.
34th, we are
Worldwide.
going to go better. We're going to get back down to the top 10 because of getting rid of the philosophy of Randy Weingarten.
Well, it's going to take a while because she's the head of the NEA, and the National Education Association is one, if not the most powerful union in the country. And they're not about education. They're not about making sure that children learn how to read and write and do math and all the rest of it. Their main function is to protect the teachers and protect salaries and to give them salary raises constantly. That's what their main function is.
Yeah, their main function has nothing to do with education.
No.
Nothing at all. They've proved that time and time again. And our scores are indicating time and time again that there is no education going on. How many times have you gone to a store and people don't know how to give you change back? They have no idea how to
And
give you change back.
parents, and I've said this to parents for many, many, many years, even when my own children were in elementary school, I started talking about what they're not learning. Why aren't they learning? Reading. Reading is not a complicated thing to teach children. I taught my children how to read, and I'm not a teacher. But once they get into school, they have all these different methods that they use. they're experimental. And that's what they've done for decades, is experiment with our children. And you see the results when the children get out of high school, and many of them can't even read. How do they pass these children year after year after year? Because they lower the standards. We've had superintendents of schools on our show many times, and they've told us, well, you know, we have different standards, and then they go into all the educationese gobbledygook that most of us don't understand. I'm not sure they understand it, to tell us why things are the way they are. And of course, the old standby, well, you know, there are so many children that come from broken homes, poor homes, blah, blah, blah. That's got nothing to do with it. Yes, there have always been children that have come from broken homes and poor homes, but they still managed to learn how to read when taught properly. They still knew how to do math, not today. And then they go on to colleges, and the colleges charge outrageous tuitions.
Well, there's a couple of things there. Number one is, colleges charge outrageous money. Why? Because when the government decided they were going to guarantee the loans, the colleges said, oh, what the heck, we can get more money. You know?
And that's what happened.
Stupid. Another thing, when they were talking about building that vocational school, I was one of the few people that got up at the city council meeting and said, no, we can't do that. We need to keep the school in Beverly. We need to have the Beverly kids be able to go to a vocational school, because vocational schools are very important. There's no reason why you have to go to college. If you're good with your hands or good with whatever, you know, different kinds of things, wood, metal,
electricity, plumbing,
whatever,
all the rest of it.
You need a vocational school. But not everybody can get into that one in Essex Aggie, because you have to apply for it. We had a great vocational school here in Beverly. We ought to get it back. More kids should be going to vocational schools. I mean...
Well, look at the kids that are graduating with their bachelor's degree in whatever, women's studies, black studies, you know. Where do you find a job if that's what your major was? These kids can't find jobs because they don't have really basic skills. But the kids that are graduating from places like the Essex Aggie or vocational schools, or just want to go to a school for a couple of years to learn how to be plumbers or electricians or whatever, they're doing well. And we know that they're doing well because, you know, when you call to find one, it's difficult, and they can charge whatever they want.
I mean, they're charging at least $100 an hour.
Wow.
Okay? It's a lot different now than it ever was. They're doing very well. That's why we need the vocational school back here. But of course, our school committee, a little shaky when it comes to doing things right.
Well, they're not the only ones.
No.
That's happening throughout the country.
No, but I'm worried about Beverly.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm worried about our kids. And I'm worried about the fact that if I have a plumbing problem or a heating problem or an electrical problem,
Yep. Who are you going to call?
who am I going to call to come down? We need more of those people, and they do charge good money.
Yeah.
But they have a skill.
And they're smart people. You know, vocational schools were kind of looked at, well, you know, it's okay. Send them to vocational school because they can't do the academics. That's not true. That's not true at all. Academics are taught in the vocational schools, and they have higher standards than many of the public schools.
Well, we have no standards in public school anymore anyhow. I mean, you know, there's
standards
no
are
discipline.
whatever the teachers and principals decide it is. That's what it boils down to.
Education is a discipline.
Yeah.
And you get rid of the cell phones, you get rid of the talking, Somebody disrupts the class, get them out of the class. You know, discipline is very important in education.
Well, you know, and you see that when you have these riots. Many of the people that are rioting bought and paid for by the left, by people like George Soros and his many organizations. The Open Society is one. And you see them because they're ranting and raving a rhetoric that they've been either brainwashed into believing or that somebody has handed them a paper and say this. You see it in the signs that pop up almost immediately after there's some kind of an episode. They come marching into the streets, yelling and screaming and getting violent and burning things down. Look what's happening with the crime in Chicago, where the governor of Chicago denies it.
You're wrong. I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. Because when you listen to the governor of Illinois and when you listen to the mayor of Chicago
or Boston,
there's no crime problem there.
Right.
So what if a dozen people are killed every weekend in Chicago?
Yeah.
That's not a problem. Let them kill themselves.
Yeah. But if you watch some of the news programs, not the mainstream media, try watching Fox or Newsmax. And while the governor is saying there's no crime and it's peaceful, there's a split screen. And you see on the other side, you see them burning buildings, ranting and raving, waving weapons with their horrible signs. You know, so I don't think people are that stupid. But the Democrats, the left, thinks that we are stupid. And if you go along with that and you think that what they're doing is right, then, you know,
well, Gail,
it's too bad.
Gail, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Isn't it more important to have tampons in a boys' bathroom
rooms? Yeah.
than it is to try and help people get out of welfare?
Well, look, speaking of Tampon Tim, the governor of Minnesota, he was up on television the other night, and it was a graduation. I don't know which college or high school it was. And he gets up there and starts talking about Donald Trump, and he kept calling him a fascist. This is the governor at a graduation? That is sick. There's something wrong there.
The thing is, he doesn't know what a fascist is.
Apparently not.
Okay? Let's see, a fascist. He's reducing inflation.
Yeah.
Okay? He's
Close the borders.
closed the borders for our security.
Yeah.
He's ending wars.
Yes.
Okay?
In the Middle East, he's working on ending the war between Israel and Hamas. And they're working on that with other Eastern countries.
This is not a fascist.
No.
You know, what it is, if you'll excuse the expression, it's leadership. Something we haven't seen in this country in a while. There was no leadership under Obama in his tour of apologizing to everybody. There was no leadership under Biden because a pen can't lead you.
Yeah. But that brings us back to Charlie Kirk, who was a definite leader.
Yes.
He was a young man, and he was very, very convincing and popular with, I think they call them the Gen Zers.
Yeah. Gen Z, yeah.
The Gen Z crowd, the young people. And he made sense. And he appealed to these youngsters, especially the young men who had turned away from their churches. They had turned away from even bothering to vote because they felt like it didn't make any difference. But Charlie and his group went all over the country. He even went into foreign countries to speak to these young people. And they heard, and they listened, and they acted in a peaceful way to try to convince their schoolmates, their friends, their families, that we have to find a different way to go. We cannot continue on the trajectory that we're on because you see what happens. Like Elliott said, in places like Chicago, LA. LA is better now because Trump brought in the National Guard, but every weekend there are shootings and violence, and I mean, it's just, it has to stop. It really has to stop. I don't know if those of you out there listening may agree or not, but if you can't agree with what the president is talking about and what his cabinet and his whole administration is trying to do, stop and listen to what he's doing and what they're doing.
You can't stop and listen to it on the mainstream media because they don't tell you.
No,
they don't tell you all the good things that they're doing. Particularly, people are yelling at RFK because they don't like him. Well, look what he's been accomplishing.
Yeah.
He's accomplished an awful lot, and that's actually enough information for a show on what RFK is doing.
And, well, you know what's funny? And Trump has a great sense of humor. He really does. And it comes out sometimes in these cabinet meetings. Whereas the other day, RFK sneezed. And Trump made some comment about don't spread your COVID over here. And they all laughed because they knew he was making a joke. He's very effective that way. I think that because of his sense of humor, when he went to work at McDonald's for 15 minutes during the campaign or drove the garbage truck, people have to learn to accept humor. But the left doesn't have any humor. They really don't. They have no sense of humor.
They have hate.
They have hate.
It is the left that has divided this country.
Yeah.
It is the left that is fighting, and you know why they're fighting? See, Trump is a business person. Most of those guys are...
They've never worked in business. It's always been the government.
Right. They don't understand economics.
No.
What they do is they worry about, if I do this, am I going to get their votes?
Yes.
As opposed to doing what's right. You have to do what's right. And there's a lot more we could say, but we're running out of time.
And it's time to go. Well, we just want to thank you for being with us, for watching our show, for recognizing us when we go into the grocery store. Once in a while we get recognized. And Elliott and I have a good time doing the show while we're presenting you with facts that you may not be getting. So stay tuned. We'll be back again. And again, thank you for watching.